Hi, everyone. It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. And here's the stern warning I want to put out as I begin. Show 825. We'll talk about the ceasefire deal. We'll talk about the LA crisis. We'll talk about Biden's finale coming up. We'll talk about some of the hearings. But this is the warning. If you ever have to take an antibiotic and they say, oh, don't, you got to eat it on a full stomach. I should have known this because the pharmacist, and everyone knows from that Gallup poll that says we trust pharmacists. We don't listen to them all the time, but we trust, especially when they give you an antibiotic and say, here, take this. But remember, not on an empty stomach, right? And I was fasting, right? So I thought, oh, I want to take it now, but I'm on an empty stomach and I shouldn't. And I remember my mom used to put little, she used to take her medicine. My mom was a medicine taking Filipino. She used to take her medicine and she put it in little white bread. That's the only reason why we got Wonder Bread or white bread. Well, sometimes we were lucky to get Wonder Bread. We just got regular, no Wonder Bread. It's bread, trust us. And we take the white part and she would stuff her pill in the white bread and take it so that way she had a full stomach, right? Or she had a stomach that was not empty. She was taking a pill and she didn't get sick. So today I didn't even do that. I said, what the heck? I'm just going to take this antibiotic, Cepha something it's called. And I got sick. Oh my goodness. I said, oh, I'm going to be okay. Oh no. So, it kind of took me out for most of the morning. And I was sort of lying on the couch with, just watching the news. And of course, is Pam Bondi, is she after yesterday with the Hexeth thing? I think the Hexeth hearing sort of set the tone for what's going to happen the rest of the time, right? Because especially for the worst of the nominees that Donald Trump wants to push through. And so Hegseth, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, they're the worst. And Hegseth sails through, and you heard my show, Show 824. I just played, this is Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable, subtitled WDAAAT, What Does an Asian American Think? And of course, I want to lead with the Asian American. I want to lead with Tammy Duckworth and what she said. And I thought Tammy Duckworth did an incredible job. She stood up for us, for Asian Americans, and she stood up to point out very effectively, I thought, how bad Pete Hegseth was, as how unqualified he was. Forget about his politics. Forget about his sexual dalliances. Tim Kaine went after Hegseth for that. I was just trying to think about Tim Kaine's sexual resume. He was divorced once. Okay, she's wife one, she's out. Married to wife two, cheating on wife two with woman three, after having a baby with woman 4 2 months earlier. That is some resume. And that's a guy who's qualified to be the head of the Department of Defense. Okay, so I thought of all you could say, well, he's human. That's what the oversexed Baptists like to say on Sunday. Well, we sin on Saturday, we go to church on Sunday. But I thought Tammy Duckworth was right on target, saying, hey, are you qualified to run this operation? And she mentioned audits. Have you run an audit? And she says, I don't expect you to be an accountant. But I heard on another talk show today, someone said, oh, did you hear Tammy Duckworth embarrass herself? Asking Pete Hegseth if he'd ever led an audit. Well, it's not you have to be an accountant to lead an audit, but if you're the head of this big massive organization, you better know what's good, what's bad, what you need to audit. You don't have to conduct it as a, as if you're a CPA, but you can let the CPAs underneath you do the work, but you've got to know what the heck's going on. And if it all comes back as, I don't know what this is, let me hire somebody or let me talk to a general who might know or a bureaucrat who might know, then what we have with Pete Hegseth is just a figurehead. Because the car is Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump is the car, and all these people are people on the hood. They're his hood ornaments. Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, all these people. He wants Tulsi Gabbard. He wants stars, people who know how to be on TV. They can be figureheads for the Trump vehicle, right? Because that's the thing, that, or maybe it's the Trump bulldozer, because that's what it's going to do to what we know of as our government. I mean, Trump and conservatives of his ilk hate government to begin with, and now they're showing just how much they hate the government. Who's worthy of running these operations within? I mean, they want to destroy what they call the deep state. So let's put someone unqualified like Pete Hegseth in the Department of Defense. Multi-billion-dollar budgets. Hegseth has never done any of that kind of work, overseeing that. He hasn't overseen thousands of people, in the Department of Defense. He's, a couple hundred, most of them volunteers in in two veterans groups that the record was spotty. This is not a guy that you would have there running the shop. Okay, so Hegseth, that was the thing, right? And Hegseth, pretty much from the assessments of people watching, he's sailing through, especially because Joni Ernst is saying, the senator from Iowa, who initially had some kind of reservations, she was really softballish toward Hegseth and said, I'm going to vote for you. Can you do this about sexual assault and appoint a senior official? And this is the way the Republicans are. Whatever Trump wants, they'll give it to him. And if all he wants is a hood ornament at the Department of Defense on the Trump vehicle, then they'll give it to him, because they all want their jobs, right? It's all self-preservation. That's how you look at these confirmation hearings. I mean, today I didn't even have I was sick from taking that medicine, but I saw only part of the Pam Bondi Department of Justice thing. And of course, the questions she got were mostly about Kash Patel running the FBI. And the big question that Democrats wanted to know is, are you going to have an enemies list? And that was answered by Pam. Oh, no, we're not going to have an enemies list at the DOJ. Okay, great. Can I trust you, Pam Bondi? I mean, that's what it boils down to. Can we trust them? Can we trust them to be independent at the Department of Justice? Or are they really just hood ornaments for the Donald Trump vehicle or the Donald Trump bulldozer that is going through our government, our country? I was reading another columnist today who said, yeah, this is the end of really U.S. government and the U.S. as we know it. And here begins the Trump era. Now, as if the first set or the first 4 years didn't give us enough. We want the sequel. Americans want the sequel. Like, didn't we have enough when we were like complaining about, and fighting against the Muslim ban? Didn't we want enough? Didn't we say enough is enough after we saw what Trump did with COVID? How he allowed for the deaths of tens of thousands of Americans waiting for vaccine. I mean, Asian Americans. We saw how the disdain that Trump had for anything Asian that translated into a pretty much a green light for people to beat up on Asians. We saw that rise in anti-Asian hate. And yet there were Asian Americans who voted for Trump. There are Asian Americans who wanted Trump back a second time after he was defeated by Biden. And then he ran again. And we know we're going to face it on the 20th. It is, I mean, one columnist said this is an end of an era. We had a good run. What are we losing? We're losing a sense of propriety, a sense of America as great. I mean, I know that Trump's statement, make America great again. No, this is America is Trump real. We're only as smart as Donald Trump. If you're smarter than Trump, no good. No go. And so we are going forward as really a dumber America, a not quite as bright America, America that doesn't like to read. We're just like Trump. He's going to remake America in his image, and the only thing that matters is, did you win? Did you win? Right? Doesn't matter if you're dumb. If you won, that's great. Your morals doesn't matter. I mean, morals used to matter. I mean, for all the things that Pete Hegseth is accused of doing, and he didn't say. I mean, I think it's because if he lies in front of before the Senate, he knows that someone told him, "Hey, look, that you're breaking the law. I can't lie." So he neither confirmed nor denied. He wouldn't answer a yes/no question. But all the things that he is accused of, I mean, it happened. But he wouldn't cop to it because he doesn't want to appear. He doesn't want to get in trouble with the statements he's made before and the statements he makes under oath. But yeah, he was in that hotel room. Yeah, he was with a woman who was not his wife. And, he called it consensual. But all he would say is, oh, these are smears, right? Look, we used to live in a time when an ounce of Pete Hegseth's sexual resume would get you kicked out of any kind of, any kind of group that would be considered as leaders in America. I mean, people have mentioned Senator John Tower when he was up before a Senate committee and he wanted to be department, some kind of secretary, I think Department of Defense. And he had a drinking problem. The senators let him have it. Both sides. He was a womanizer. He was a drunk and a woman. He was not qualified. And they didn't give him a pass. And now, in this Trump era, Pete Hegseth, he's the model majority. I think that's what you call him. He's our Trump bro model. How many push-ups you do? 5 sets of 47? You think some of the Republicans were serious here? Throwing up softballs? And so, by contrast, the Democrats are alarmed. They say, hey, tell me about this situation in the Monterey Hotel. And Tammy Duckworth was serious about, are you really qualified? Do you even know what sort of things you do in this job? Do you want this job? Are you capable? We are lowering the standards for a white guy, Pete Hegseth, which struck me because, if you're a person of color in the government or who has had a decent career, they often look at you and say, oh, well, who do you know? We lowered standards to let you in, right? That's the assumption. Well, this is the truth about the reverse affirmative action of Pete Hegseth. We are lowering standards to allow the man who Donald Trump wants to be the hood ornament of the Department of Defense. That's the new America. That's the new America. And, all this, I say that phrase, and it's funny because I did a show called New America Media. And it was based on this idea that the population of the country was changing. The minorities were becoming the majority, and that's going to be great things. We're going to be represented. We're going to have opportunities. That's the new America we envisioned, not a new America where our actions would be castigated as, oh, that's woke. That's diversity. Oh, that's DEI. Oh. And there was Hegseth saying, oh, there's a difference between equality and equity. Equality where everyone is equal, and everyone has equal opportunity. But equity, it's not that there's equal outcomes, and that people want equal outcomes. That's no equality, yeah. Which only further confuses the matter, because all Pete Hegseth represents is the reaction to what people like myself were noticing in 1989, that, hey, here's the new America. And we were hoping for this new America. And instead, we get this America, the old America. We get the America of lower standards so Pete Hegseth can have a place. Unqualified, but white enough for Donald Trump. White enough for Donald Trump's taste. So, I was hoping that we'd see more of the testimony yesterday where these young gun senators like Eric Schmidt from Missouri, embarrassment. Marquayne Mullen, Oklahoma, embarrassment. I mean, it's issue by issue, but they're so anti-DEI and the woke. We're woke and we're weak. We need a strong army. But what got me and some other African American commentators caught this, when someone really said that the Army was the greatest civil rights organization in American history. Oh my God. What kind of imbecile says that the Army was the greatest civil rights organization in American history? The Army that segregated, the Army that went after blacks, the Army that in World War II, they segregated blacks, Filipinos, Asians. The Filipinos had two regiments that separated. And it was like those guys fighting fires, the prisoners fighting fires in LA. So a handful, there's like 50. But, you prove yourself. That's why the Filipinos fought. There was Chinese battalions, Japanese Americans out of Hawaii, or out of the Japanese Americans out of California. But, you want to talk about the Army being a civil rights organization? Laughable. Laughable. So anyway, I'm still steaming about yesterday. Today the big thing was Pam Bondi being answering a question. I think it was from Senator Whitehouse. He said, "Is there going to be an enemies list?" And she said, "No, there's going to be no enemies list." Okay, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's all loyalty to Trump and how independent you can be. And if you're standing there in a confirmation hearing, you can't be very independent. You can. I mean, the reason you're there is because you're not independent. The reason you're there is because you have this undying loyalty. And when those people are asking Republicans who are asked to swear their undying loyalty for Trump, that we are going down a path where who's running this place? This is Donald Trump's best. So, all right. So that's the confirmation stuff. Pam Bondi says, no enemies list. That's what she says now. Later on today, we'll see Joe Biden in his finale address. And it's sad because, you know, we feel like he's given the finale before. He's, you know, when he stepped aside for Kamala Harris, I feel for Joe Biden because he deserved better, but we are not in a better world. And when all the things that hurt him, you know, misstatements, things like that. I mean, that it's ridiculous now. I mean, Donald Trump can make misstatements all the time. He doesn't get creamed like Joe Biden. There was a double standard. But Joe Biden, sadly, he was public with his, you know, with some of these errors he made, his statements and whatnot, at a time when America was mean, cruel, and unforgiving. And we're mean, cruel, and unforgiving only because of one man who got a smidgen more votes in the November 5th election. But he's now remaking America in his style, his image, and when they call it the Trump era, it's real. It's going to happen January 20th on Monday. The same, I mean, let me just say one thing about, well, I'll come back to Biden. But on January 20th, the same day as Martin Luther King, I don't know. Should we take bets? Is he going to claim on Martin Luther King Day that he, Donald Trump, freed the slaves? I'm just waiting for him. I'm waiting for him to say that. Well, I freed the slaves. You can't put it past him. And you know that half the country who has an undying love for Donald Trump will just buy it. Yeah. Well, I guess in essence he did. Yeah. I mean, he said it. I mean, oh. So I'm actually looking forward to Biden's speech. You know, we can expect a couple things. We can expect the fact that we are at an inflection point. We can expect that we are at a point where, you know, we've tried to tamp down all this Trumpism, but we are now at an inflection point and it's going to. So there's that. But he did have a kind of hurrah beforehand today. If you saw him speak about the ceasefire. The ceasefire is really, it is a triumph for Biden, but he's not going to get the credit, right? He's just not, unfortunately. The credit's probably going to go more to, you know, the second half of this deal, because the ceasefire begins. The idea is that hostages will be released by Sunday. We don't know how many, and we don't know what the details are in terms of the 33 hostages, who will be released when, and how they will be released based on a prisoner exchange. But a prisoner exchange is part of this. And of course, before Qatar and Biden could even come out with statements, Donald Trump was on Truth Social saying, "Yeah, we did it. Yeah, this wouldn't have happened if I wasn't elected." No, it probably would have happened, but he's going to milk a lot of the credit for himself, because here's the thing: as it's a piecemeal thing, right? The first set come out by Sunday, unclear how many, and then more will come out. Trump will be president, and his relationship with Netanyahu will determine how many come out when. You know that. And the fact that this has dragged on till now, when it was talked about in May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. Okay, we're talking about 10, 11 months. From May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. Yeah, 9 months. But thing is, they were just waiting so that it wouldn't all be Biden. They were trying not to be apparent, Netanyahu, so that Biden wouldn't get any credit in time for the election. And now, just to say goodbye to Biden, because Biden went over there and hugged him recently, he's going to let him have the first half of this deal that's really unclear, and let all the glory go to his buddy Donald Trump. That's what it seems to me. It's sad, but that's the politics here. And the real sad thing is the 47,000 lives it cost to get to this point. 47,000 lives, the destruction of Gaza. I mean, it's people hungry. But this is the way of negotiations. Donald Trump goes out ahead of everybody on Truth Social because he just wants his people to know, hey, it was me, even though it was not. Biden gets out after the Qatari prime minister and thanks everybody and says how it was a nonstop effort. His team, Tony Blinken, the vice president. I mean, it could have been sooner, but the fact that it wasn't is because the politics involved. And now we get what we want, peace, sort of, but and we want to celebrate, but we hold our breath because Sunday is around the corner, and we don't even know if all the hostages are going to get out, right? Some will, and then it'll be a kind of a layered thing, and any number of pitfalls can happen. So we are hopeful that we have made some progress that should have been made May, June, July. All right, we'll take it. But in the meantime, more than 47,000 people dead. It's sad. It's just sad. It's sad, but we've been focused on LA, and we've forgotten a little bit about what's going on in Gaza and Palestine, but our focus is, we see it now, and the world's focus will be on this deal coming to fruition. Let's hope it does. It's a long time coming. Long time coming. October 7th. And all the things that happened because of that, right? I mean, I happened to be in Boston at the time that this happened, and the campus protests and the vigorous debate and the impact it had on all the other things campuses do. I mean, Harvard's not Harvard I know. I mean, it's gone ultra right wing. It's gone ultra conservative. And it never really was that. But now, in the way it's dealt with protesters, in the way it's dealt with how to deal with, in the way it's dealt with their president, former president, Claudine Gay. I mean, it's gone totally right wing. So let's see what happens. It's a bump. It's a point worth mentioning until we see the results. And I think I can say that's true for people who are on the left or on the right of this issue. Let's see if it works. We're hoping for it. It does put into perspective somewhat what's happened in LA, and here we are on Wednesday. The winds are not, they're not up to the 80, 100 mile per hour winds, but they're down to like the 60 mile an hour gusts in parts. We still have to worry about what's going to happen, and people aren't even allowed to come in as freely because there are still hot spots. There's still danger. And all it takes with the wind, as soon as the wind whips up, all it takes is one ember to be caught by the wind and then to fly in some place where the vegetation is so dry, another fire starts up. And fortunately, they've been able to stop fires, but before get worse. But now, we're seeing a lot of journalists, looking for the next story, trying to find out, well, who's at fault? Hey, and people are suing the government for, well, why was that reservoir dry? Or why aren't more people going into the fires? Well, we had protocol. We're following protocol. Saw someone today try to grandstand at a press conference, trying to say, is there something, that, are you feeling bad that you didn't send in all the people? Is there something you could have done to save the amount of harm that was caused? I mean, was there a manpower shortage or was there a brain power shortage in planning? Which, fair question, but even now, it's not the right time to answer that. I mean, in time, but right now, people are still struggling. And it's great to see stories about the generosity of other people in LA who aren't impacted and can give, and some people who are impacted and still give. But two stories I saw that were especially sad, and they all have GoFundMe sites, right? And they all have, some have a lot more money than others, but they're all people who were in either, most of the regular people, right? Altadena is a modest to middle class place. It's not fancy schmancy. It's really an area that has become desirable because of the pride that these early residents there had in Altadena. They take 850 square foot homes and made it theirs, and by golly, just by being there, the real estate prices went up because it's a nice area connected to Pasadena, LA. Some of these people were there for decades. And, when LA was affordable, and then now it's no longer affordable. And so their houses are worth a lot, but their houses are destroyed. And they have nothing. One sad family bought their dream house, right? I mean, and some of these stories are, I'll say the basic structure of the story, but you probably have heard of 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 people who this applies to, right? A young couple, they've got kids ages 5 to 7. They've got a dog and a cat. They're living their dream home. They bought essentially a tear down in Altadena. They fixed it up. They got a second loan. They added a room. Oh my God, this was their dream home. They were going to live in it. The kids got big. And then who knows? Equity grows. They buy something else. They move up to something else. But they love this home. Good schools, good neighbors, good fire. They come back. Everything's gone. They have their pets, their animal companions, but the kids can't go to school. The parents are struggling, trying to figure out what to do. They go to banks. The banks say, well, we'll give you a couple months break, but you've got to pay your mortgage. Okay, we've got to pay our mortgage. Okay, great. On top of rent. And the rent, people are being gouged on rent. If they were able to rent a hotel room for like $200 a night, which is, you do the math. 200 a night times 300 or times 30, $6,000 a month. And 200 a month or 200 a night, that's considered reasonable. I mean, some people are looking at 150, maybe if they're lucky. Some people, if they get 200, they're saying, hey, well, we usually book these hotel rooms and they're now going for $400. Oh my God. $400 a night, 30 days. You want $12,000 a month, which is more than my mortgage. And between my wife and I, we don't bring in that much. What are we to do? I mean, this is, like I said, I'm telling the story in this generic fashion because this is a story for tens, if not hundreds of people who got caught in the Eaton fire in Altadena. And these people are stuck. What do we do? All right, we bring home $7,000, $8,000 a month take home. That's great. But they want $400 a day for a hotel room. They want $12,000 a month. Oh, and then we need gas to drive the kids to school. We haven't talked about food. We haven't talked about medicine. We haven't talked about anything like that. And, maybe a hotel room costs $12,000 a month. If we can find it. And in some ways, it's price gouging. In some ways, it's just, if you're a hotel owner, you should do the right thing. People should be doing the right thing if you own a business. And that is doing stuff for free, helping these people out. But this is the kind of complaints I hear. And then the DA, Nathan Hochman, he seems to be a good guy. I like him better than the other guy he beat out. But he said, look, if you're gouging these people and you're not going to make them whole by refunding money if you're gouging them, if we catch you, we're going to go after you. And we're going to, essentially, he said, full extent of the law. We're throwing the book at you. And then what got me, Nathan Hochman said, we are going to publicly shame you. We are going to tell everyone that your business is gouging LA residents. Public shaming. And I said, oh my God, public shaming. I mean, like we're going to put him in a lock stock and, maybe lash him a couple times. I mean, it just seems, I'm talking about the gougers. It just seems like when he said public shaming, I thought to myself, that might have worked 10 years ago. But in the era of Trump, I don't know if it really carries that weight. It should, if people are acting, at the highest level of ethics, but we're no longer there. We're down below where anything goes. And it's all because of one man. Donald Trump. I mean, really, shame? You want to talk shaming someone? If shame still worked today, Donald Trump would get 0 votes. 0 votes. Shame doesn't work. Shame doesn't work today. I mean, you can fat shame somebody. Yeah. You try to call Lizzo fat. Yeah, you will be shamed for calling someone fat. But if you call out a gouger, a rent gouger, preying on LA fire victims, that shame, I don't know if that shame works. Not when you have Pete Hegseth cheating on his second wife with a third after having a baby with a fourth woman. Drunken womanizer charges. We saw how far shame goes there, right? I mean, no shame. And then, of course, why should it go anywhere when you have Donald Trump, who found liable for sexual assault, tantamount to rape? That's a phrase you got to say. Liable for sexual assault, tantamount to rape. You know what he did to Melania, cheating on her with Stormy Daniels, covering up the hush money, convicted, 34 felonies. Shame. Shame don't play in America no more. Shame don't play in America no more. It doesn't. Can't be shamed. Can't be shamed in America. You can go up before a Senate confirmation hearing with 0 qualifications, 0 talents. Admit you don't know anything about the job. Admit you know nothing about, accounting. Nothing about the Department of Defense and what it does. And you can still stand there and say, yeah, but, I'm still good. I can still do the job. Not really. Not really. And then why would we shame Hegseth when we can't shame Trump? Right? So that's where we are in America. And it's Wednesday. A week from now, we will be in it. And we just have a few more days of sanity. Do you go back to 50 years, as one commentator said today? Is it, hey, we're going back 50 years? Or further? I think further. I think, and here's the thing about America. America's been wrong in the past. America has been so wrong-headed that you just take it as, well, this is what America does. It legalized slavery, did nothing about it, fought a war over it, ended slavery. But hey, Donald Trump doesn't mind a little indentured servitude, doesn't mind H-1B visas, turning them into indentured servants. So really, it doesn't matter how far back you go. There are examples of bonehead American decisions on the part of public officials, on the part of people who elected them. And we survived, which is the great hope. I mean, we will if we stick together and we continue to back policies that matter, back policies and politicians who will speak to our needs. And I'm talking about us all. I'm not talking about left, right, Democrat, Republican. Doesn't matter how heinous your policy is, but you should consider that we're all in it and we're all impacted. And you should all care. Because that would be terrible if you say, oh, well, I don't care, I get mine. And you know, there's some people who say that. Hey, I'm sorry that you're not as fortunate as I, right? I mean, that's sort of that's Donald Trump's excuse. And all the people who voted for him, who thought, oh, he's going after criminals. He's not going to deport regular folks. Oh, yeah, he's going to deport regular folks. He's going to deport regular folks, and then you can figure it out afterwards. Slight inconvenience. Anyway, a shameless America. That's what we're going to have. We're going to have a shameless America. There is no shame. Not when Donald Trump is president. That is our reality. All right. That's just the truth. I'm just saying the truth. And once again, not left wing or right wing. I'm just saying we're all here together. That's the great thing about the fire. We're all here together. But as you can see, the people who pop up on television and tell their stories tend to be people maybe of all colors. Maybe it's more diverse. But I see a lot of Black and Latino. And I've seen some Asian. I've seen some white. I mean, it's everyone is going through this inconvenience. But the fact is, some people are better off than others. They have friends they can stay with. They have a pile of money sitting around for them that they can reinvest quickly. Because a lot of it is going to be how soon before, what do we do in the meantime? I don't know. I just know the people it's going to be a long time before they get back what they lost. But still, you get news about the ceasefire and you say, well, all right, let's just put things in perspective. We're not bombed out like they were in Gaza. We still have our life. I mean, really, ultimately, it's about being grateful, right? I heard some people knock that. Say, oh, you're grateful? Yeah, we're grateful. grateful for the generosity, grateful that we're just alive. It's going to be hard, but we're going to have to live on gratitude for a long time. All right. Joe Biden tonight. Maybe I'll head over to the comedy club tonight for laughs. Kind of a time when I might be able to use some. And then Sunday. Big day, Sunday. The inaugural and MLK Day. It's only happened 3 times before. The coincidence. Obama, the second Obama term, which was 2013, I believe. And one of Clinton's terms. And, Clinton was called the black president for the longest time before Obama came up. And Obama's sort of like the half-black president. And so who knows what Donald Trump will say. I hope he doesn't say he had something to do with freeing the slaves. And that might be a bridge too far. That might be a bridge too far, I think. Won't put it past him. All right, we like to end with a little loving kindness. We send out the love. We're not all hate. Don't hate anybody. This is Emil Amok's Takeout 825. Listen to 824. Find it on YouTube channel. Find it on. I haven't put it on Patreon yet. I got to put it on Patreon. Check out my columns on Substack and on Patreon, and that's it. Hey, thank you for joining me. I'd like to leave with a little loving kindness, because it helps. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahalo.